I watched Friday the 13th, Part 3. And, well, this one really feels like an undecided middle ground for Jason. Like he's going through Jason puberty. He's halfway between a real human and the mythological figure he will become. I call him Traps Jason because he has been working the hell out of his neck. Oh my god. This movie's from 1982, and much like Saw, at this time period, Friday the 13th was putting out a new movie almost every year. The franchise is still figuring itself out in real time, and this one was released in 3D, which the movie never lets you forget. Every object in this film spends 5 seconds flying directly at the camera, including eyeballs. On one hand, you've got Jason acting like a straight up slasher villain, grabbing people, stalking, planning things, and then other times he feels like a force of nature that just appears wherever the script left an opening. So he keeps bouncing back and forth between man in a mask with a plan and unstoppable environmental hazard, and honestly, I feel like the second version works better for me. Because when Jason is just a thing that happens, it's creepy. When he is a guy, he needs reasons for what he's doing. Like hanging out in the barn all day. Why is he in the barn? What is he doing out there? Does he have barn business? The movie refuses to elaborate. The story is also pretty thin. Chris and her friends are going to stay at Chris's family cabin. It's a big deal because Chris has a lot of trauma connected to this place. And her boyfriend, or ex-boyfriend situationship, is also there despite not having seen her for a year. And the movie never really clarifies what their deal is, and honestly, I don't think it knows. His name is Rick, and he seems okayish. Also, nobody ever says this is Crystal Lake. Maybe I missed a throwaway line, but it's never clarified. It is Jason. We know it's Jason. The movie spends 5 minutes reminding us it's Jason. But why Jason is here, specifically, is a question that the movie treats as deeply rude. And then some bikers show up. Why not? I don't know. The movie doesn't care, and Jason takes care of that reasonably quickly. The kills, though, once they start, 50 minutes in, this movie has some hellish pacing. They really start. It turns into this rapid fire cycle of setup, isolation. Jason shows up. Done. Some of them actually hit. Andy getting folded midair is wild. Debbie's kill echoes the first movie's Kevin Bacon kill, sans any blood. I also really like Debbie. The pitchfork stuff with the bikers, that was probably the cleanest action sequence in the film, but it's inconsistent. Some of it feels sharp and some of it feels rushed. All of them feel very lacking in any real gore, especially compared to like the first movie. And then you've got a tone problem too, because this movie is bouncing back and forth between trauma backstory and random sex jokes and biker gang chaos and pothead comedy relief and straight up horror kills, and it never fully blends. The biggest example is Chris's backstory. A year before the start of this movie, she was sexually assaulted by Jason at the cabin. And it is a heavy topic that this movie is not structurally able to support. And the characterization of Jason doesn't really work either. It doesn't fit any of the other characterizations of him. He's an unstoppable force of nature, not a sexual predator. And I've heard some convoluted arguments like the original guy wasn't supposed to be Jason and it's just a coincidence Jason is here now, but that's not true. There is specifically a scene where he picks his mask up and shows his face and Chris recognizes him. So yeah, this is the man who assaulted her, which makes no sense in the grand scheme of Jason things. Why did they make this part of the story? I hate this part the most. Character wise, Chris does hold up though. She's probably one of the stronger final girls. She's not just reacting, she finishes the job. No one helps her. She just hangs Jason and then buries an axe in his head. That's the most agency this movie gives anyone. And Debbie is Chris's friend, and she's pregnant, which goes nowhere and does nothing to the plot. She is funny as hell, though. I wish she'd been a final girl. There's a pothead couple that has, frankly, some commendable levels of tolerance considering they are actively smoking pretty much constantly. And Debbie's boyfriend, Andy? There's nothing much to write home about, but he seems like an okay guy. Can't say the same for Shelley. Shelley is supposed to be the comic relief, but he ain't funny. He is an incel, insecurity, perpetual motion machine. and he annoys everyone. He plays mean pranks. He complains constantly. He gets politely rejected by a girl and immediately calls her a bitch under his breath. And somehow this man is responsible for the most iconic image in horror. It's his hockey mask. Jason sees Shelley's mask and goes, "Ooh, mine now." Which means the greatest horror icon of all time is wearing a hand me down mask from the most annoying person in the movie. Dungeon! 10,000 years dungeon! And Jason himself is a weird version of him. He's not fully the iconic mechanical unstopping force yet. You see a lot of human behavior, like waiting in barns, holding Rick so he can't call for help, being weirdly obsessed with Chris for no reason. But you also get moments where he feels kind of mythic, like this shot where he jumps in through a window during the final chase scene. That's the version that works, not why is Jason in the barn, but Jason is here now, and that is a problem. And then the ending just happens, the movie just stops happening. You see that a lot in a lot of horror movies, especially in this era, so it's not this movie's personal fault. Chris gets her final girl moment. Jason somehow survives things no human should be able to survive, despite the movie not clarifying whether he's human or not. We get a hallucination callback to Mrs. Voorhees jumping out of the lake, but Chris has no reason to know who Mrs. Voorhees is, so this doesn't make sense. And it just kind of ends when the cops throw her in a car and drive off, when what she really needs is a therapist more than anything, which is accurate. So yeah, Friday the 13th is basically a transitional movie where Jason hasn't decided what he is yet, and you can feel it in every scene.